Sweet. So as a way of introducing myself and to let you guys know that I know what I'm talking about, I'm going to show you the intro bits of a previous presentation that really is an excuse to show some cool photos of myself. That presentation was called Pursuing Passion, because to me, passion is everything. I think everything revolves around passion. You know, it's more important to me than drive or willpower or creativity or skill, because if you're really passionate about something, those things will be there anyway, they'll follow. So, you know, what else do you need? Maybe more skills, which is why we're here today. So, passion gives you all the energy, inspiration, drive, willpower that you need. Passion is what led to this photo of me getting my beard licked by a baby yak. It's not a horse, I'm sorry, it's kind of the same thing. A baby yak at a remote monastery in Nepal. The mountain in the back in that window, it's not Mount Everest, but it's the mountain next to Mount Everest, which is almost as cool. I think that's me. Also, because of this whole passion thing, it led to me standing on the rim of an active volcano in Vanuatu, which is a very small South Pacific island nation. And that's lava shooting up, and that's insane. Has anyone ever been on a volcano? Sweet. Oh, you have? Alright, you and me today, cool. Yeah, it's seriously a life-changing experience. I'm super grateful for that. Thank you. Off to a great start. Passion is also what led to me being a host on a Discovery Channel TV show exploring Inner Mongolia.
With horses.
With horses, exactly. So these are Mongolian horse riders, and I mean, I assume you guys know about them. Insane. The bond they have with their horses is like nothing else I've seen before. That was really, really cool. And passion is also what led me to work with brands like Google and YouTube and Samsung, Panasonic, Canon, Ford, Vogue, maybe something else, Microsoft, and so many more. And passion is what has allowed me to turn my hobby into my career, and it's allowed me to do what I love for a living, which is something I'm super, super grateful for. My name is Matjoez. I'm a commercial time-lapse photographer, travel filmmaker, educator, influencer. I'm not too sure about that one. But most relevant today, I am a fellow YouTuber. I was born in Antwerp, right here in Belgium, and actually went to school here in Brussels for 4 years. It was supposed to be 3, but parties. It's very fun to be back in Brussels. I've always wanted to do something here because, I haven't been in Belgium for the last 6 or 7 years. Been living in Australia, hence the hat. And I just noticed the shirt is the same shirt. I flew in from that mission now. I recently moved to London. I just keep following my girlfriend around. She was in Australia, now she's in London, so now we're in London. So I already mentioned it, we're talking about how we can create better things using basic tools. Because again, if you're passionate, but you don't know how to do anything, you're just passionate, and that's not as exciting. So this is what I usually take. Well, it's not even everything that I take on a commercial time-lapse shoot, which is the majority of my, I guess, income or revenue over the last 10 years almost, is commercial time-lapse photography. And I now have a really bad back because I travel with this on my back, and it's horrible. And I'm trying to downsize and downscale everything that I use and everything that I own, because I just literally can't carry it around anymore. Which is why we're talking today about how you can do stuff with smaller things. If something's too heavy and you feel like it's blocking you from taking it with you, that's literally blocking you, your creativity, blocking you from creating things. So let's try to work with some smaller tools. I'm going to show you a video real quick that I made, I want to say 3 or 4 weeks ago in LA. It's unreleased, it's not even finished, finalized. Oh no, I can't switch out. There we go. It's the most stressful thing about doing a presentation, showing a video in that presentation, because it never works, as you can see. Anyways, I want to show you this piece of content. Restart playback. Go to that screen over here. Go like that. So, thank you. So yeah, client you saw was a micro SD card manufacturer from South Korea. A decade or so ago, this video wouldn't have been possible because, you know, the 360 shots, the drone shots, the swinging, you know, bullet time stuff, that type of content just didn't exist, and the majority of that footage was shot on, as you saw, I forgot that was in there, it was all shot on small things that fit in your pocket besides the drone. I forgot all the gear was in there. So you saw, like, it's GoPros and phones and a 360 camera that's, you know, you can put it in your mouth, that's how small it is. It's weird. We live in such an exciting time. Stuff is so accessible now. Gear is so cheap and affordable, and it allows us to be much more creative than ever before. And yeah, I mean, our smartphones. Who here has a smartphone? Hand up. Who shoots on their phone? That's people now. Like for like your videos, or you use this in the field?
I saw a video from what's the name? It said use the equipment that you have with you, and yeah.
Yeah.
But
hey, hold on. The best camera is the one you have with you. The next line.
No, sorry. But I had courses, and it's impossible to take my 4K camera from Sony on my purse. Yes, it's insured, but still, if I fall off or I let the camera
it's gonna hurt someone.
Yeah, so I don't want that. So I use my iPhone, and it's really, well, it's good enough.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. It's yeah, phones these days. Like my phone shoots 920 frames a second in HD, which, you know, the only cameras that could do that up until possibly 2 years ago were phantom flex cameras, like stupid stuff that costs way too much money. It's so accessible. So again, you know, we can make so many cool things. Another video I want to show real quick about shooting on phones and like it's so and I apologize about the aspect ratio. This was shot for Instagram. I apologize. I know our eyes are sideways and like this was all shot on my phone. Very short. You know, it's a little thing, something like we need you to make something on our phone. Coffee.
All the footage was from your phone?
Yeah, entirely shot on the phone. I wish I could say edited on the phone. No. It's hold on, I'm trying to think that one. Shot on the Note 9. Note 9? Pretty sure it's Note 9.
But editing on phones is getting better also.
Yeah, we'll talk about Rush later, which is sponsored by Adobe. Yeah, editing on the phone's getting big as well. So composition, like this is part of the presentation because I literally didn't know who was going to be in this room, like what level you guys are at, but I feel like everyone here knows, you know, what composition is. It's the artistic arrangement of the parts of the picture, or, you know, in this case, a video. I'm going to go over it anyway because I've got it here, and otherwise I want to fill this 2-hour talk. When in doubt, I mean, who is really confident in how they shoot and what they create? Is everyone like very confident, like first time? Does anyone wish they were better at shooting video? Is everyone perfect? All right, we got some people or one person. Yeah,
I think you can always learn something.
Yeah, exactly. Hi guys.
Hello. Sorry, really.
No, that's fine. You know, traffic and all that.
No, I didn't. So
that's fine. That's a better excuse. You missed the intro. Who are you and what do you do? 2 lines or less.
we are Juliano. We are daily vloggers in Belgium.
Wow.
Dutch.
All right. YouTube.
I am the Johnny in the Johnny and
Perfect. Yeah.
Naam die en
How many dailies have you done?
now we are 1 week ago we had our 1000th video, so now yes, we are now more than 2 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Wait, 1,000 videos in 2 years?
No, yeah, we are now
more than 2 years.
more than
Oh,
2
okay.
years,
Yeah. I was like 365 times
1,000.
2. It's more than one video.
Yeah.
Anyways, respect. That's crazy. When I started vlogging, I did 100 in a row, and then I was like, nah, I'm done. And now I don't vlog anymore. Anyways, yeah, we're talking about how to, you know, create a bit of content using accessible tools, stuff that's small. You missed some really cool videos. Like everyone was applauding. Composition, when in doubt, rule of thirds, it's pretty simple. It's pretty much you put two lines horizontally, vertically, and you put subject or a head or the eyes, the eye line on one of those intersections approximately. Notice that I put mine, it's my brother by the way. Nice in the middle of those two distant rocks as well, so it's all nice and balanced. Honestly, more often than not, keep it simple, it just works, you know, it's effective. On your phone, I shoot so much on my phone, it's crazy as you have noticed. You can enable these grid views, you can do that on most cameras as well. It's not only useful for when you're framing stuff up, but when you're shooting at a weird angle, and we'll talk about angles later, it's easy to use those lines to make sure everything's level, or like when you're shooting on a building that's straight, because when you're looking at it from a weird angle, like I'm looking at the screen now and I don't know what would be level or not because of my perspective. So those lines can help you line stuff up when you're shooting at awkward angles. And yeah, it helps keep things level, and that's something like I think I've got a sixth sense for noticing horizons that are just a little bit off-center. Just to make, like, always have your horizons level unless there's a reason for it. Majority of the time when you're shooting something that's kind of going sideways or slanted, it subconsciously tells your audience that something's wrong, that the subject of your video is going through something mentally. It's one of the first things we learned in film school. It's always stuck with me. Keep an eye out. Any film that you see where this person's like taking poison or is like struggling and has a panic attack, camera always goes like this. Always. It's crazy. Once you know that, you'll notice it everywhere. Another composition is, you know, bang in the middle, but then still I'm kind of working with the 2/3, you know, sky and foreground. Obviously the sky was crazy that day. This is a sand or a dust storm in Western Australia. It looks better, I think, on my screen than it does on those screens. Yeah, that's right. Still, it's cool. Yeah, just right in the middle, you know, tiny person, landscape. When you're shooting landscapes, putting a person in there always gives you like a reference, a frame of reference, and shows you the scale of it. I probably should have put him a bit further out to show you that, but yeah, that was intense. I was vlogging that day, this whole storm thing was crazy. This was on a tourism assignment in Western Australia for this, it's called the Golden Quest Trail. It's a gold mining region. Australia had a big gold rush as well a while ago. And for this trip, we were asked to shoot everything as Instagrammy as possible. What does that mean, Instagrammy? Anyone? Square. Square crop. Yeah, centered, straight on. All the stuff that you're trying to move away from. But again, like these basics, they work, and people, you know, they connect with it because the video did really well. Client was really happy. And we worked our asses off, excuse my French, to make that work, because the region itself is actually not that nice. It's, you know, there's a lot of drug problems there, and we just had to work so hard to make it look good. And then the direction of the video was like, I'll show you the hero video that came out of it eventually. I think you'll notice how much of that square on, or like to the point stuff there is. It's also really fast edit because they wanted so much footage in there. I had a little control over the edit. Yeah. Why did I show that? I think it was, yeah, the square on the compositions. Yeah, challenging but fun and interesting to work on a different route, because I wouldn't shoot it like that. I shoot much more like trying to be cinematic and have foreground and depth of field stuff, but yeah, they wanted it differently. So, I guess like it all boils down to light, what we're doing, right? We're just capturing light rays that are coming from the sun and bouncing off objects and then hitting your sensor. And we're trying to make that look as good as we can. Now there's good and bad light. Who here loves shooting in the middle of the day with the sun straight up above? Any reason why?
Because it's beautiful.
Okay. I personally wouldn't do it, and I don't mean to like put you on the spot, and I feel bad. What it usually does, it's really harsh. You'll notice that's very contrasty. The brights are very bright, the shadows are very dark. Golden hour around sunset or sunrise is where there's lots of like soft golden glowy light. This previous one, by the way, that was middle of the day. Just shows you how dust can like change. See? Yeah, it looked like something that we did. So yeah, straight harsh top-down light isn't ideal. Now, when you are shooting in that golden hour, everything's often too golden and it's quite stylistic, so you can't plan your whole video around it. But if you look around on Instagram, which I keep bringing up as a platform, or anything like travel filmmakers, they'll shoot just like myself a lot around sunset or sunrise because everything just looks a little bit nicer. Now, to make stuff look better during the day, if you are shooting in that harsh sunlight, to make your sky pop and your reflections change, you can use the circular polarizer. Anyone use those? One of these filters? Hands up. It's like 2, 3, sweet. Yeah, so this is it's a filter. It's 2 pieces of glass, and you can rotate it, and it only allows a certain orientation of light to go through and hit your sensor. So this cuts through a lot of haze, a lot of reflections. It's how they shoot through car windows and stuff. It's relatively affordable, and it can really transform your footage and make it look so much nicer. So a circular, I always struggle with the words, circular polarizer can make your less than ideal shooting conditions look way better than they actually are. Then,
Is it more yellow?
no, not at all. Do I have an example? I don't have an example. I know I should have put that in. Imagine looking at the sky and it's kind of hazy. With this thing, it becomes way more blue and saturated. And the clouds look, it's much more contrasty. It looks almost, it's great for landscapes and travel, obviously. If you're out in the fields shooting, wherever you are, it can really, just transform your footage. And just the fact that there's only 3 or 4 people here using it means that more people need to know about it. I should have put up an example. My apologies. Anyways, subjects. When you start out shooting, it's so easy to stay inside and shoot your cat or your dog, right? Because like, oh, that's cute. Just go outside. Don't just shoot your cat or your dog. Try a little bit harder. Find an interesting subject, or if you don't find an interesting subject, at least, oh my god, room's full now. How cool. Hello.
Hey.
Yeah, a little bit of extra effort goes a long way, and obviously, patterns, repetition, textures, gradients, all these things, they're so much more interesting than just whatever is convenient for you at the time that you're playing around with your camera. It's pretty much fall right now. Is it still fall? Is it winter? When does winter start?
No, it's winter.
Okay, so it's still fall. I went out yesterday and I shot like 50 different leaves in a park, and they're all like green and orange and yellow and red. I don't know if it's going to be a good video, but I've got a video out of those leaves, and that's just, see what's happening, see your surroundings, what you can shoot. If you can't find something interesting, maybe you can find an interesting way to portray a non-interesting subject. So recently I was working with Panasonic for their S1 cameras, and they asked me, the creative brief was make a video about a certain memory. It was super vague, and I was like, what does that mean? But I was like, okay, a memory. I just moved to London. I have no memories in London because I'm new here. But I did go there with my family years and years ago. And what I remember was all these double-decker buses. I think it's one of the most iconic things in the city. And I was like, I want to do something with those buses. And I went and I shot this video. Which, how do you make a bus look interesting? Where is it? I don't have it here, it's so sad. Well, I really want to show it. I can show it on my phone. Who's got really good eyesight? Yeah, so I try to make the bus look more interesting than it was, and I'm so sorry about this. Like, this shouldn't be happening, but can you all see that?
Yeah. Oh,
Do you see what's happening?
Oh, that's fun. Oh, wow.
that's just dancing.
Exactly. So I went out and I kind of purposely shot this thing. And I was like, how do you make a bus look interesting? So do you know how I did it? Do you think you know how I did it?
No idea.
Great.
I think you filmed all the buses, and then I mean, on really time-lapse, but I think you used After Effects to get them to each other
Yeah.
moving on, and I think you shot all the buses on the same piece of road, and then put them all
Yeah.
after each other.
Yeah, pretty close. So literally all I did was shoot the same bus, or from the same spot, line it up, and do the same move about 40 to 50 times. But I didn't even use After Effects. I literally,
Yeah.
because I had so much footage to choose from,
Yeah.
tried to find the buses that matched really well. And some frames I didn't have to do any adjustments or scaling. I just have a really steady hand. And I could just it's just a cut frame. It's a jump cut into the next bit of footage. Yeah. And then here and there I had to adjust the scale and you know the positioning, but just like overlap it, drop the opacity, and then I could just kind of like put it in place. And yeah, that was fun because it's a bus. But I posted it on Instagram and everyone was like, "How'd you do that?" You know, so many views. Obviously great because it was a project for a client. They were happy with the engagement, and so many people started messaging me about it. And then I made a tutorial, so you can watch that if you want to see how I did it. If you want to replicate it, actually, I always love it when people do that.
Okay.
How much hours did you film?
Sorry.
How much hours did you take?
I think I was there for like an hour, and I was literally like, in hindsight, I was an idiot. I should have just brought a video tripod and did the same move. But I was shooting like this, and I had a little frame here, so anytime the bus would come by, I would put the front of the bus in that frame, and I was like,
So there were 40 buses in 1 hour.
yeah, I mean it's long, and there's so many buses.
What's your YouTube channel?
I think I'll put it at the end, but yeah, Matjoez. Yeah, I'll put it on screen later. Anyways, camera angles. So we live our entire lives seeing the world from eye level, and so I think it's normal that when you shoot stuff from eye level, that it just kind of looks, because you know we know what that looks like. So everything at eye level is usually going to look pretty boring unless you have a crazy subject. You know, why do you think drone footage is taken off, unintended, so much the last few years? Because it allows us to see a completely different angle of the world around us, of our surroundings, of the things we think we know. We're seeing things from a new perspective, and it's the same with time-lapse photography, which I'll talk about later. However, with time-lapse, instead of changing the point of view, we're changing the speed of view. It's kind of like you know, you're manipulating time and you're showing this hidden dimension that is around us, but we just can't perceive it that way. We see stuff in real time. If you speed it up, or if you slow it down, I assume everyone knows the slow-mo guys on YouTube. If you don't, you have to check them out. They're amazing. They do the opposite of what I do. They slow everything down, and that's fascinating because you think you know what it looks like when you shoot this TV, but the way glass cracks in super slow-mos. Amazing. Anyways, more about time-lapse and time warping later. How you shoot better camera angles. Let's go down, or shoot up, find staircases or ledges or whatever. Even with a little monopod, if you shoot down, it's amazing how quickly you can change the feel of something by changing the angle, as long as it's not eye level, because that's how we see the world anyway. So on monopods, I mean, obviously I talk about drones. Drones are so accessible now. There's drones that weigh 99 grams. There's drones with 360 cameras, and you can fly drones with lights on at night and all this crazy stuff. If you can't fly a drone, you can use a monopod and put your camera on there with a crane or a gimbal, and literally just like walk around with a 2-meter long pole. And it looks like it's a drone. I recently shot something that looks like it's shot on a drone, but I really did not want to fly a drone there. I can't believe I didn't bring that video. It's so stupid. is not shot on a drone. But if you speed it up with like, it could be kind of like a drone shot. Now I've already kind of given it away how I shot it. It's not a monopod, it's just a pole in that bag with a 360 camera on top. Cool thing about 360, and we'll talk about that later, is you can choose your camera angle afterwards. Because it shoots everything. So you can just be like, alright, I want to show this bit. And actually then I want to go that way. It's really cool to have a spherical capture of your surroundings. It's super unique. It's also, it takes a lot of work. This was so hectic by the way. Like I have to shoot, you know, as steady as possible, can't slow down. Who's got the remote? Is there a button here that we can stop having to turn on? It's received. Legend. Thank you. Yeah, so 360 cameras, just kind of showing the world in from a different point of view. So yeah, imagine if I shot that on a drone. Probably shot super legal there. 360 cameras. I was googling this last night. The cheapest ones are now running for under $100. You know, years ago, I've got friends and they like 3D printed mounts for 6 DSLRs and then had to like custom write software to stitch all together. Anyways, more about that later. Yeah, it's nuts how accessible things are now. A similar mistake from my point of view, as like shooting from eye level, is just shooting static stuff. And it's a mistake I think a lot of people make when they start out shooting video. It's just like you capture something and then you capture something else. It's usually a wide angle. It's static and it's kind of boring. I always kind of like shoot a little bit sideways or a little bit forward or backwards depending on what it is that I'm shooting. But I think motion can really elevate footage. It can kind of trick your viewer into thinking that you shot on a more expensive camera because you're using a foreground. I never do, when I do my time lapses, again we'll talk about those later, I never just have it static. There's always a little bit of a zoom in or a little slide sideways that you can add in post-production because there's so much resolution. Motion, like it kind of drives your edit forward and it can pull people in or like make them feel things differently than just static eye-level footage. It's kind of neat. So yeah. Also, when you have motion, it's easier to create fun transitions. As you saw in that video with the bus kind of like going through, like none of those cuts would have been possible. It was just a static shot. So it gives you so many more options for post-production. They can be slightly more challenging, but your payoff is going to be, you know, way higher as well. Who's got a gimbal here? Quite a few people. Why did you buy a gimbal? Why do you have a gimbal? Why did you want someone to give you a gimbal?
Well, because it's just awesome how smooth you can take motion.
Yeah, so you want to have that motion, but you want the motion to look better.
Yeah, I really enjoy that smooth motion of that you can regulate as well.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
So if you don't have a gimbal, but you still want to add motion, you can literally just like go a bit through your legs and move stuff. However, if I'm shooting that with no foreground and I'm moving like this, you won't notice any movement in what I'm shooting. However, if this is my foreground and I'm revealing that from behind it, that same move all of a sudden becomes a really big camera move just from having a small amount of foreground in there. The foreground moves faster because of the perspective. It's called the parallax effect. And it's used everywhere. It just elevates the shots. It adds depth to your frame as well. And foreground often then, even shooting on your phone, is a bit blurry because you're focusing there, but your camera can't capture everything in focus. And the more of that blurry stuff you have, the more you're shooting through things like leaves or branches or whatever, the more expensive it feels, because that's why people, you know, spend so much money on expensive cameras, is for that depth of field effect, where the stuff that is out of focus looks really out of focus. You can kind of like force that in your footage as well by being smart about what you put in your foreground.
And you can also put your gimbal on a monopod, that was what I did yesterday. Like a nice crane shot.
Yeah. Well, there's monopods and gimbals now, and yeah, I've got an idea for
It's
it.
more challenging.
It's challenging and you need some arms for it, but yeah, it's fun.
Just hold your iPhone in your hand like this.
Yeah, but I'm not as tall as
You
you.
have your husband
No,
holding
but
it
you
like
do
that.
it on a horse or on a bike or
Yeah, a horse, yeah.
and you just go galloping
Yeah.
through the leaves.
And the phone's going.
No, it's going right through leaves, and it makes a lot of noise, but it's
Yeah.
really, it gets
It's
real
cool.
nice
I have a picture question. Do you see that video shot like with an iPhone on a water bottle? And then he drinks from the water bottle and the iPhone goes away.
Yeah.
And then he drinks from the water bottle. It's like crazy shot.
Show me later. Sounds intriguing. What you said, like going through leaves, is reminds me of the first time I mounted that 360 on my bag on the pole. I was on this little electric scooter, and obviously I forgot that I've got a camera sticking up here. Literally, first shot, turn the camera on. 2 meters, there's like a stop sign, and I was like, bang! No, I don't even have a shot yet. So I thought I'd smashed the lens because the lens was facing forward, but it was actually so tall that the board just hit the pole. But I just thought, like, within 5 seconds of starting squatting, like, yeah, dumb idiot. What else? Accessories, the fun stuff, the tutorials. I've got some stuff here that I pretty much always have with me. The question I've got here, who's got accessories for the cameras? Surely everyone's got at least something.
Like a tripod?
Yeah, tripod, monopods. What else? You have nothing? Or
Legs
legs?
for
Like you have the legs?
legs.
You already-
Lights.
Oh, lights. Legs. I got tripod legs. Yeah, lights. Yeah, definitely useful. We'll talk a bit about that. Maybe that's not the talk. Anyways, I like to challenge myself sometimes to just shoot on my phone. Because I'm just so over carrying this heavy bag. Even this is my minimum. It's pretty light right now because everything's here. But even the minimum is like getting to me. I'm 30 now. I'm old. Joking. Sorry. Anyways, what do I bring when I just shoot on my phone? And these things are all so cheap and so accessible and affordable. We've all seen Joby Gorilla Pods, right? You know, the ultimate dodgy vlogging setup where the camera falls over. But yeah, this with a little phone clamp, this costs maybe, what, 20, 30 euros? This allows you to shoot, this is what I used for that Samsung video, the vertical one. It's pretty much all I used. I use it to mount it to a signpost and shoot upwards to shoot a cloud. I use it on a ferry to kind of hold it steady and to make sure I can frame it properly, because if your hands are covering the screen when you're trying to be stable on a boat, this was really useful. Allows you to shoot time lapses, it allows you to create trick shots, which you guys know all about. If your phone is in the exact same spot, then you're standing there, and then you're standing there, because the framing is the same, you can just kind of overlap the footage and have two people that are the same person in the same shot. Magic. Who's used lenses on their camera phones? Phone cameras. It's pretty much obsolete now, but like this little kit here again was like 20 or 30 euros. It's got a wide lens, oops, it's falling out. It's got a wide lens, it's got a fisheye lens, it's got a macro lens, so you can get super up close, like I've shot details of my eyeball with that. It's got a little LED ring light in here. It's got a tele lens. It's got a polarizer in there.
That's
It's got,
all on your phone now, so.
yeah, that's the thing, like, what's the
You
point
don't-
of this?
you don't
It still
need
has
to-
a couple things, like, it's got a kaleidoscope filter, so everything looks like you're on acid or whatever. And then it also, I don't think you can do a fisheye on your phone yet, but yeah, just this elevates your phone footage to the next level. Some of that, the Instagram video was also shot on the macro, the bubbles of the water was literally just me pouring sparkling water in a glass and having the phone on this thing really close. And people are like, oh my god, did you put your phone in the water? Like, what was that? What was those bubbles? I was like, here's a photo of how I did it. And it's just as simple as it can be. Like, keep it simple. Works. And yeah, there's a polarizer in here as well to make your sky look better in case you're shooting in daylight. About polarizers, 99% of the time I'm shooting on those. Now, audio. Who shoots with their built-in microphone?
No, we don't have an external port on our.
Okay,
On this
it's the
camera.
only excuse
Yeah,
that I will allow.
we have an external microphone. But
Yeah.
purpose,
Yeah. Again, you know, super cheap. I use even for my phone. So I don't daily vlog anymore, but I have a daily like an IGTV video, and for that, and I've started using this. This just a little shotgun microphone that you plug into your headphone jack of your phone. Who's got a headphone jack on their phone? It's like two people. Yeah, it's sad that they're all going. But yeah, microphones can make all the difference. Like if you're making a video, you should at least spend, I always say half the time on the audio as well. But yeah, so that's kind of the model of the road video micro. It's an Australian company, super nice people, very affordable.
Brand.
Sorry?
Super awesome brand.
Really, really cool. And they make great products, and if there's something wrong with it, they'll just ship you a new one. Like I've you know, not because you've got a following, I mean it helps if you have a following, but yeah, they're just super nice people. It's a family-owned business. And yeah, Rode is like all of my microphones, and they're great. And yeah, just having better audio, better sound quality elevates your production quality and the way people perceive your content to such a different level. That's, yeah, I think it's crucial. So if you're not shooting on a mic, shoot on a mic. If you don't have a mic jack, get a different camera. Yeah.
You can put the road,
What's the new one called?
lavender or something.
The little square thing.
Oh, I have the wireless road.
Yeah, I have that one as well.
But you can also just take the lavender and just put it on your phone. And then you have the camera and sync it, and then you're ready to go. You don't even need it.
If you're shooting all day and if you're doing it daily, I get so post-produce, sync all that. It is automated kind of these days, but still, if it's good enough. Who knows David Dobrik? Wow, fascinating. David Dobrik's like one of the most popular vloggers. He lives in LA. He's got an insane channel.
Oh yeah,
yeah, he's like a boy-looking dude, and he just shoots on a kit lens and a kit camera, no microphone. One of the most successful vloggers currently. So it just shows that you don't need all that gear, but I do wish he had better audio, because some of it's just like.
What's his name?
David Dobrik. D-O-B-R-I-K. Put in David D and you'll find him on YouTube.
He gets the same views, like 10 million views on each video.
So it's nuts, yeah. Not as much as Mr. Beast though.
Ah.
Who knows Mr. Beast? More people, but not enough. Team trees, exactly. Back to gimbals, I've already kind of talked about it, but gimbals are insane now. Who remembers the Mobi? Not a lot of people. So the Mobi was one of the first commercially available gimbal stabilizers for a camera. I remember on a shoot in Miami, I was shooting time-lapses and hyperlapses for the production of this festival, and the guys that got me there, they just invested, I think, 20 or 30,000 euros, or 40k euros even, in a custom stabilizer rig for the Red Epic cameras at the time, I think. And everyone was talking about this rig they were running around with. It was this huge carbon fiber thing with cables sticking around and mounting things and software and like an extra computer to make sure it was all calibrated and everything. And now literally, all of that technology is right here. Look at that. All of that tech now fits in a 300, like this is a camera as well, it's not just a stabilizer. A lot of that LA footage I showed at the start was shot on this. All the hyperlapses, I literally like track footage, and I was just like walking, talking to my friends, and that was a hyperlapse. It was nuts. So yeah, this is the DJI Osmo Pocket. It's a very fun, capable little camera, and again, like how far technology's come. This, I mean, I can fit that in my mouth. I'm pretty sure. I'm not gonna try it right now. Maybe later. There's no microphone. There is a built-in microphone, and then you can mount a microphone somehow. It's got USB-C. You can plug this on your phone on the side. It's seriously cool. I think it's great for vlogging. I'm using it for some vlogs. 4K 60 frames a second. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah, phone gimbals. If you don't want to do that, you can also shoot on a gimbal on your phone. They're really cheap. Who here doesn't have a phone gimbal? Would anyone like one? Sure. You can have this one if you want. So this is a Zoom Smooth View. I just don't use it anymore. But it's literally you know, it's the same as that thing. I'm sure you recognize what it is. And then I should have added the fun on there. But yeah, if you want it, you can have it.
You're great.
I'm trying to get this thing forever.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so, you know, that thing now probably costs, I don't know, not even 50 euros on eBay. It just takes up space in my closet. It's probably great for when you're horse riding. Smack that through the trees on the roof. Just don't hit any lampposts.
No, I'll send you the video. This is really fun if you're on a horse on the beach and you just put it above your head, just go like a wind.
Yeah.
You go, well, I used
put
to
it in
go
the
pro,
horse's
but yeah, sure. But now it will be stabilized. It will be first stabilized.
Yeah, you might have to balance it a bit. We can talk about it later. But yeah, it's really fun. Who's got an action camera? Cool. So the fun thing about action cameras is obviously I did bring mine, but it's filming in the back. Filming with my camera.
Go.
Back to the support. Yeah, action cameras. The cool thing about action cameras is how small they are and how many mounting options they have. You can put one in your mouth. Actually, it's called a bike mount. A lot of my surfer buddies, they use it because you can't hold it when you're surfing because you got to push up and paddle and stuff. And it's like protection for your teeth, and that's the GoPro mount. Then with a little neck strap. There's a new camera called the Insta360 Go, I think, and it weighs like 30 grams. It's literally it's this big. It's this big. And I'm not gonna say weight. You can mount it like I said, there was a guy on Twitter or wherever it was, and it was like every day he was trying to find a new angle for this camera because it allowed you to shoot even crazier angles than with a GoPro. So he would mount it on his hat, and it was like an eyeball cam, and it was a video of his eyeball moving around. Just really cool what's possible because of this small camera that's high resolution, high frame rate. And then on top of that, the stabilization algorithms built into the GoPros now and of the DJI action cameras, you don't even need a gimbal anymore. It analyzes where your horizon is and it uses multiple frames to make sure it's stabilized. You can shake the camera around like this and it'll be steady like nothing else. Honestly, it's kind of like digital magic. And then yeah, 360 cameras. So anyone has a 360 camera? Got one. I'm done with the giveaways. Have this? So yeah, I thought I had everything for today, but I forgot my 360 camera, which is really a shame. But you did see it on that first video. The 1X is it's about this big. It fits on a stick and then on a rotating thing, and then you swing it around. It shoots at a high frame rate, and it allows you to shoot a bullet time shot. Now, bullet time is from when the Matrix was released. They had a huge rig, like twice the size of this room. Cameras, I don't know how many cameras, like 200 cameras. A stupid amount of cameras, all synced up to shoot an action scene where Neo's leaning back, dodging bullets. Shot in Sydney, Australia, by the way. And they all shoot at the same time. And that's the amount of hardware you needed to shoot a shot that I shot there on a camera that fits in my pocket. Again, this technology allows you to shoot crazy stuff. The same thing on the bridge. Because of the spherical capture, if you're just walking around, the only thing you got to think about is where you are in relation to the lens and your surroundings. So you can make these tiny planets where you're shot from the back, but obviously you can't transform it to look to the front because the lens needs to be in the front. But once it is in the front, you can reframe it any way you want. And it's really fun to create transitions and all that. Again, 10 years ago, I know a guy who 3D printed mounts and he wrote custom software to offload all the 6 cameras that were mounted on this incredibly delicate thing to eventually spend, I don't know, like 20 hours per clip in post, like matching the frames, and then you have like, cool, you got 360 footage. I literally stayed away from 360 for so long because I knew how much work it was, and I knew it was going to get so much better in the near future. And now we're like 3 years later, and yeah, I shot that like this. And again, the cheapest 360 cameras are now less than $100, which is pretty cool. So, time lapse. Who's dabbled in the art of time lapse? Yeah. Who wants to dabble in the art of time lapse? Everybody, yeah. talking to the right guy today. So we've got a little mini time-lapse workshop built in here as well, because I feel like when people ask me what I do, I'm like, I do time-lapse. Oh, what do you shoot? I'm like, everything. I've shot everything as time-lapse. I've shot weddings, I've shot volcanoes, I've shot construction, I've shot, you name it, like festivals. I've shot the biggest festivals in the world with time-lapse. It's a technique that you can apply to a certain thing, which is that line. That's why I don't call myself a creative. I don't feel like I'm creative. I'm really good at time-lapse, and I just apply that technique to anything I see, to anywhere I go, to any place. This would be, I could make a time-lapse out of that video. Anyway, so time-lapse, in case you don't know, which I assume you do, it's like slow motion footage or a 360 or a drone shot. It allows us to see the world from a different perspective, but it's a shift in time. So we're looking right here. This is slow motion, really slow, and this is time-lapse. It's on the other side. I started this talk about passion. I'm so passionate about time-lapse. It's crazy. If I think about what I've done to shoot time-lapses and how many early mornings and how much gear I've bought and what I've invested in this whole time-lapse thing. And that all started in 2010, so almost 10 years ago. I saw a video on a horrible video website called Vimeo. Actual dig, I really dislike Vimeo, not just because I'm at a YouTube event today, but don't like Vimeo at all. I saw a video on there, and it was a time-lapse video of the Canary Islands. This guy called Matjoez, he's Scandinavian, so I don't know how to pronounce his name. He made a video showing like stars and fog and clouds moving, and I was watching this, and I was like, jaw hit the floor, pick it back up. What is this? Like, I kind of knew of time-lapse, but this is the first time I saw something. It left such a big impression on me. I was like, damn, I need to do this. I want to know how to do this. And I had a T6i or a T5i, a 600D Canon at the time with like a kit lens, and I just bought it. And, I was like, can I do this? Turns out I could download this firmware hack called Magic Lantern. Anyone know that?
Yes.
I could download it on there, and I thought I destroyed my camera when I downloaded it because it stopped responding. I was like, oh no, the one thing I bought. I didn't break my camera. I shot my first time-lapse that night, and I haven't stopped shooting since. And I still, to this day, I'm obsessed with time-lapse. It's taken me literally all over the world. My tagline of my channel is time-lapse travel and tutorials, because I do time-lapse for a living. I travel all over the world. I take you along with me, and then I teach you how to do what I do. It's a great channel. You should definitely check it out. And it's allowed me, as I said earlier, to turn a hobby into a really fulfilling career. Now, 2013, I made a show reel of my footage of that year. It went a little bit viral online. I posted it on Reddit, and then it got 300,000 hits on YouTube in one day. In 2013. In hindsight, like, it's still cool if your video today gets 300K views, but then it was like, damn. So it's not too long. Yeah, shot that in 2013 all over the world, as you can see, a bit of Belgium, a bit of Australia. If I look back at it now, I'm like, I cringe, because everything with it is wrong. There's so many mistakes in it. I'm just like, ooh. Well, I'm still obviously super happy with it. It's about to hit 1 million views. I'm 2,150 views away. So if you all watch it a couple times later, but yeah, like, I've kept educating myself and kept trying new things and evolved as a creator. And now when you look back, you should always, you know, strive to improve and upskill yourself. Which is why it's cool that you guys are here today, because I'm hoping you're at least picking up a couple of things. Now, how do you shoot a time lapse? All you need is a camera, a tripod, and a subject. Now, this can be a phone and one of these. This can be a bigger camera, and I've got a tripod in here, I should pull it out, and one of those. And that's it. And then it needs to shoot a photo consistently over an extended period of time. And that's all it is, really.
Video? Can I do it with a video?
You can do it with a video, and I think I talked about that in the next one. Yeah. So I'll ask you about that. Now, it's shot as a series of photos, and then turned into video. So at the start of my time-lapse career, people were like, what do you do? I'm like, well, I'm a photographer, but I make videos, and I don't know what to do. Now I'm like, time-lapse. People know what time-lapse is. But it is a hybrid, because I'm capturing photos, but the end result's a video, so it's in between. The end result also is you're speeding up time. Like, that's the goal. You're showing the world from a different perspective. Now, you could shoot video and speed it up, but what's the problem with that? Anyone?
The resolution and also the raw functionality, so you have more color and more control over your images.
Yeah, so lack of resolution, because a photo can be 100 megapixels now. You're not shooting raw. I mean, if you're rolling raw video for an hour long, who's your sponsor for your storage? Because that's going to take up some space. You know, you're burning through your battery, your storage, you have less dynamic range. So there's all these things limiting you when shooting video. Now, there are moments when you can shoot video and you just speed it up for like a quick, you know, a story, Instagram story or a quick YouTube story, whatever. But to have the highest quality, and I'm all about, you know, high quality, as you can see by this talk today, the highest quality time-lapse is a series of raw photos at a fixed interval, and then you use software like Photoshop. Who's surprised that you can use Photoshop to make videos?
I'm not.
Okay, cool. Or After Effects, which is what I use. You're gonna take all that data from the photos and you're gonna render it, you're gonna transform that into a video file. Now,
But a time lapse can be 10 minutes or 10 hours.
yeah, so it depends on your subject. Like if you're shooting a sunset, you've got a really long lens. Normally, when people see a sunset shot of mine, they're like, man, how long were you there? I went from day to night, and I was like, about 45 to an hour. And they're like, you weren't there for 2 days? It's like, no, you didn't. It's a sunset. It goes like that. If you have a really long lens and you've got the sun, like, imagine this is your field of view, and the sun's like this. For the sun to hit the frame and to go down at that focal length will take 1.5 minutes. But that's a time lapse. So a time lapse of a sunset could be 2 minutes. It could also be way longer. The longest time lapse session I've done was 24 hours. Was a wedding, funnily enough. It was a bump in where they bring in all the gear, all the tools, all the set. It was a wedding in Sydney. The budget for the wedding video alone was $150,000 US.
Wow.
For a wedding video. And I was there 24 hours before to film all of this stuff coming in. They flew in 64 Egyptian crystal chandeliers to, you know, hang in the whole venue. We had a live stream the whole day, 2 same-day edit videos, 4 big cinema screens. The venue was so big, it was an old train rail manufacturing yard. They had like 900 guests. It was the most crazy thing I've ever been a part of. And yeah, for 24 hours before that wedding, I was shooting and then editing and rendering all these clips so they could use that in the same day edit of the wedding. It was nuts. Another really long one I've done was, I think, 16 hours of a Navy vessel in Australia coming in the harbor, another one moving out, turning around, and then them both going back in their dock. And I was just sitting there with my assistant, like, just watching this huge boat like move super slowly. But it's fun, you know, you shoot other stuff. Now, the basics of how to shoot a time lapse. Again, you can shoot this on any camera, right? So you always want to shoot raw because it gives you much more dynamic range. It gives you control over your exposure in post-production in a much better way. It gives you control over how your color temperatures look in post as well. If you're shooting JPEG, that's fine for limited usage, but RAW just gives you so much more room in post. And maybe a few years down the line, you want to revisit your first time lapse, and if you shot that as a JPEG series, which is very compressed, you'll be sad. And that happened to me. My first few time lapses, I didn't even know about RAW. I was like, JPEG, I think I know that. And then 3 years later, I wanted to visit that. I was like, oh, I should have shot RAW.
Is it possible on your phone? If you
Depends on the phone. I've got an Android with Pro mode and it shoots RAW, or DNG, digital negative. On iPhone you can use Lightroom to shoot RAW photos, and then there's apps that also allow you to trigger that, I think. But I'm not too familiar with iPhone.
I have Android. So.
Okay, on Android I can show you later. There's a bunch of apps that allow you to do that. You're going to want to use a sturdy tripod. I know this sounds like, what's the point with that? But trust me, you just want to get it right in camera. You don't want to have to spend hours in post-production stabilizing something because the wind was just like knocking it around everywhere. You want to turn off all of your image stabilization, your sensor internally or your lens, because maybe with the newer cameras not, but with a lens, Canon lenses for example, if you mount them on a tripod, the active image stabilization, which is supposed to stop your camera from moving when it's locked down, it'll keep looking for motion. So your whole footage is going to shake. Rookie error, a lot of people don't realize that. They're like, why is this, why is it not sturdy? There was no wind, there were no, floorboards, no one was walking around. I was like, it's your stabilizer. Be aware of your surroundings, like you might be in a spot that's going to be super busy in a couple hours, or water levels might rise. Even when you think you're on a dry spot in the sand, the water table will change, and then eventually your tripod's going to start sinking really slowly when you're on the beach. This has happened to me in Miami, and I couldn't get the shot stabilized because I didn't have anything to lock onto. I had a bunch of waves coming in, the sun rising in the clouds. The shot was kind of lost because of, I thought I was in a good spot, but 2 hours later that spot wasn't good because of tidal movements. Commit to your shot. Once you start shooting a time lapse, you got to be committed to it, because if you see something else like, oh, I want to shoot that, you're gonna ruin this shot. You're gonna rush setting this shot up, and you're gonna have 2 crappy shots instead of 1 good shot. Trust me. Until you're entirely confident, which I'm not even me, it's always entirely confident, just stick to the 1 shot that you've set up. People cloud sunsets at 1.46 seconds. This is a general guideline, and not all cameras can shoot at 1 second intervals, but this is like, people are like, how fast should the shutter be? I'm like, oh, just use this as a guideline. Should be good. People and car movements, they're pretty quick when you're shooting them, and then you speed it up by quite a bit in time lapse, so it looks cool. It's funny how people behave in traffic and in big crossings. You can see these patterns emerge, and it's actually a whole science, is the way people move at events. It's obviously, at big festivals, it's entire company's whole goal is to make sure that it all runs smoothly. What else? Shoot for at least 250 frames. That gives you about 10 seconds of video if you're rendering at 25 frames a second, obviously. And then the best piece of advice that I always give is to just go out and shoot, and then you fail, and then you're going to learn from that mistake. And like literally, I swear by that advice. So many people have so many questions online. You don't notice this on YouTube. Like, how do you do this? How do you do that? And shoot, blah blah blah. Just go and try it and see what you learn from that, because you can talk all you want. This is, I think, a big thing in the camera community. People theorize and obsess, but they don't actually go and commit to something and shoot something. So yeah, shoot, fail, learn. It's my 1 key piece of advice. Hyperlapse. I've talked about it already. Who's heard of hyperlapse photography? A couple people. Cool. So in 2011, hyperlapse didn't exist. The technique existed, but the word itself didn't exist. I saw a video, once again on a really bad video website, from this Russian guy. And I was already pretty obsessive with time-lapse photography. But all of a sudden I saw a time-lapse that moved so far and so smoothly that I couldn't figure out how he did it. And again, like, there was no name for this technique. He was Russian. There was only Russian comments. Google Translate didn't exist yet, so I was copy-pasting his description and his friend's comments in the videos into this online translator called Babelfish, which some of you guys might know. Trying to figure out, he wasn't sharing any information. I was quite active on a time-lapse forum at the time, and we were all like trying to piece this together, like how did he do it? Like we download the video file and frame by frame, look at what's happening. Like yes, we can notice that from one frame to the next, there is probably about 4 to 5 seconds of time lapsed, but his motion is only like one step. So what's he doing? Is he just moving the camera? And that's all it is. You're doing a time lapse. You're doing the same thing, shooting photos consistently, but you're moving the camera. It's not on a slider, but like physically. So if I shoot a time lapse, when I shoot a hyperlapse, I literally, and I do this all the time, I've shot thousands of these. It's just like times 300. That's all it is. And again, people think about like how to this and that. I'm like, no, just go and try.
Hard for your arms though.
Yeah, you need the shoulder muscles mainly because you're lifting this up. I shoot most of my stuff handheld. I think I'll talk about how I do it later. But yeah, we pieced it together. We figured it out through collaborations, through this online community, which I find such a lovely story because hyperlapse photography for me led to so many other things. It's probably half the reason I'm here now. In 2013, 2 years after I discovered it, I got a distinguished talent permanent residency visa from the Australian government because of hyperlapse photography. That was my distinguished talent. And in 2 days, I'm going back to get my citizenship. So, yay, hyperlapse. And then, a couple of years ago, Instagram launched an app called Hyperlapse by Instagram. And that was funny because I was already doing a lot of commercial hyperlapse work for cool clients like Canon and Microsoft and all these agencies were hitting me up from all over the world to go shoot them at festivals. I've been to Israel with David Guetta and went to Ultra Music Festival in Miami a bunch of times, Germany, Holland, Australia, and DEFCON, you name it. I've shot all these festivals specifically as a hyperlapse photographer. And then all of a sudden this app appears called Hyperlapse, and everyone's like, "Ooh, Matt, you're out of a job now. Everyone's able to do it. You just get it on your phone and you're a hyperlapser." I was like, initially, I was like, "Oh, dang." Also, yeah, I was a little bit stressed out, but then I was like, actually, no. The only thing that this is doing is it's showing this technique to more people, and then people are going to look for a professional to come and do it. And that's what happened. Like, it's so much more work because Instagram launched this app, which is really fun. And another fun thing about hyperlapse is that no one knows how it's done. So when I get hired by a client for a project, they're just like, "Oh, Matt, you go do your thing. We'll do ours." I'm like, "Sweet." And then I go and shoot all day, and then they get some cool footage, and everyone's happy. Sometimes you get, inquiries that are so unrealistic that it's like I have to stop myself from like laughing in their face. A couple of weeks ago, I get a phone call or an email. I forget, probably an email, realistically. Company wanted to produce a shoot on 3 continents in 6 different global cities, all shot in hyperlapse in a continuous shot, and I had 2 weeks to shoot, and it had to be done by the end of the month, and we were in the first week, and I was like, I'm gonna pass on this one. I don't know, that was stressing me out like crazy, that was just like super unrealistic expectations. People just don't know what it is, but it's cool, it elevates, it's like a time-lapse on steroids. A director called it the flight through time and space once, a Belgian TV guy. And I like that because that's what it feels like. You've seen it in the, it's the big, we all know what I'm talking about, right? The big moving time-lapse shots. Flight through time and space. And the actual name hyperlapse, I was on that forum I mentioned earlier, is where we kind of like settled on that name. It didn't have a name before. We were like, let's go with hyperlapse. And now it's, Microsoft has a whole research division. Instagram has got the app. I'm able to talk about it. It's pretty fun. How to hyperlapse. The same as a time lapse, but you just gotta move. Now there's a couple tips. I've already shown you how I do it, and that's how I do 99% of mine, unless you want to shoot them as long exposures. But the challenges are, honestly, it's not even that hard. You just put everything on manual. So manual ISO, white balance, shutter speed, aperture, and I think that's right. Everything on manual. And the thing you need is, you kind of need to get into this zone of consistency. Hold on, I'm going through my slides wrong. You need to be consistent. in time and step distance. So when I did that step earlier, I'll do that exact step. It's not as hard as you think. And if you go 5 centimeters too far, you're shooting 25 frames where you're going to show it at 25 frames a second later. So you won't notice a small misstep there. And same for the timing. But yeah, put your camera on manual because that gives you all the settings that you need. You're in control of the camera. The camera has no idea that you're shooting a time lapse or a hyperlapse, so you need to control that stuff. Then you are going to do a test run of your track, your run. If you're shooting a building, you can go straight on. In this room, I'd probably pivot around like the middle of that, and I'd literally like take the camera, see if this is gonna work. Like take one photo here, take a couple steps, another here, and like that. And then I scroll through it in preview mode, and I immediately see what that's gonna look like as a hyperlapse move. So that test run is crucial to see if that's what you want or not. Maybe you want a shot that kind of curves around, and you're gonna look for like reference points because it's hard as you're shooting to see where you're going. So you might need someone to help you. That big shot in Milan, I was there with my mom, she was helping me at the time. That was so much fun because that took like an hour and she was like getting people out of the way. And yeah, it's one of my favorite memories of mine, like starting my creative career. Yeah, use tiles and use reference points and use lines on crosswalks or whatever, or ledges to both have a reference point for your consistency and to have a reference point for where exactly you're going. It's very easy to kind of glance down when you're shooting, after you've done quite a while. Then, yeah, so handheld is how I shoot most. You can shoot them on a monopod to, not put as much pressure on your shoulders. You can shoot them on a tripod if you want to have long exposures. You can shoot them on a gimbal, which I've also done. I've shot every type of hyperlapse. I've shot chest mounts. I've shot, never really anything over the last almost 10 years. But the most efficient way for me to shoot it is handheld. Now, keep your horizon level. So, use a level in your, like a digital thing that shows you if your camera has that. If you don't have that, use one of those grid views that will show you where to put your thingy. It's one less step that After Effects later on has to analyze. And when you're shooting on a full frame camera, don't shoot too wide, because it has to stabilize every frame. But if you're on a super wide lens, on the edges, everything distorts quite rapidly, even if you move just a little bit. It won't be able to fix that distortion at the end, at the sides, sorry. Keep it level, don't go too wide. Step consistently, as I showed you. Shoot consistently. Try and hit, a 2 second pace or a 3 second or however much time you need. And then the only other thing is you need one specific point to always be in the exact same spot. So using that grid, you can use one of the grid points, or using the little focus points in your camera viewfinder. You can, for example, that little spot on the wall, I would use that as a reference point and just make sure that for every frame, that is in the exact same spot. And that's going to be a reference point for your software afterwards to analyze it. And seriously, you run it through After Effects. You run it through After Effects or Premiere Pro as a sequence. So every frame, the software will look at it as a frame from a video file as opposed to a separate photo. Apply the warp stabilizer on it, and it will render or it'll analyze it for a couple of minutes, depending on your computer, obviously. And something's going to come out of there. If you've shot it consistently, that you're like, I don't know how this works. Like, why does this look so good? It's seriously so simple, but people overcomplicate these things in their minds if they don't go and try it and shoot and fail and learn. Obviously, it takes a little bit of practice, just like anything. But yeah, it's magic. This warp stabilizer didn't really exist when we started doing this on that forum. I think it just launched. And at the time it was really, really bad. Well, it wasn't bad, it was still cool, but it was so slow. And now it's like, get it on there, it fixes pretty much everything. It's super cool. Other ways to hyperlapse, I showed it earlier. So this little, this is, you can have a camera on a gimbal, or you can have a gimbal that's built in with a camera. I could track that little frame there, and it'll, let me just check Explorer. So I've now motion tracked, it says active track on, so if I walk this way, it's literally, I could run. And it's pointing the same direction. So then I'm shooting video, high resolution video. The downside of shooting a hyperlapse like that is, as we talked about earlier, you're limited in your dynamic range and your resolution and all that. But also one of the key factors that makes a hyperlapse look really cool is the actual passage of time, or the lapse of time. Time lapse. Smart. The fact that nothing else is moving as quickly. You'll have a really nice motion track shot, but that effect of clouds or light changing in that scene, that's something that often brings it to the next level. But yeah, you can shoot them if you don't have a lot of time, or if you don't have the gear with you, if you don't want to commit to a shot like that. The shots in LA on the boulevard were all shot like that, and it's sped up, and there was no clouds anyway, so it didn't really matter. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I've got some like career advice that I find very important. I'm not sure how useful that is in this room because a lot of you are very established already. But maybe maybe you're not. Maybe you are, and maybe this is a nice refresher. And take this however you want. Obviously, I'm literally just someone with a hobby that got way out of hand, and now I'm here. That's how I look at myself. So yeah, it's all about people, really. I attribute the success of my career the fact that I'm here, not because of what I do. Obviously what I do is pretty cool, and I'm pretty good at it. But I can track back to a single email that I sent to a person, which led to an internship, which led to an opportunity at a festival. It's all about people and relationships. So talk to people, just walk up to people like, hey, what do you do? My name's Matt, I'm timelapse. I always have business cards with me, and I always have something to show to people. So obviously you need good work to show to the right people. At Tomorrowland, this big festival in 2011 or 12, I was filming there, and I was invited to go again the next year to shoot with this production crew. They were pulling crazy numbers, by the way, on YouTube. Like they had these launch, premieres, and they would get, I don't know how many, millions and millions of views in a day. It was nuts. I think they still do, I don't know. But the second year around, I knew I was going to meet a director from Holland, and I wanted to work with him. I really wanted to work with this guy. So I made a mini showreel of what I did at the festival last year, specifically for this one person. And I had it on my phone in like my favorites folder, so that when I saw him, I'd be like, hey, great to meet you, my name's Matt, I work with blah from this thing. I want to show you what I do if you don't mind, if you have 30 seconds. And I show it to him, and I think 2 months later we were flying to Israel together to go shoot David Guetta at the lowest point on earth, at Masada at the Dead Sea, which was really cool. The next year he flew me to Ultra Music Festival in Miami, same the year after. And then at those festivals you do more networking, you meet more people. It doesn't have to be festivals, of course, but it just shows like, it's all about people. You gotta have your work on hand, and just work like crazy. I try to be generally, not just with my work, but with my life in general, as efficient as possible. Because there's no one's got time to waste time. I mean, a lot of people do, and I still waste a lot of time. But just be efficient in how you plan, shoot, and edit, and how you live your life, your relationships, everything. I was laughed at once on an influencer trip. Because I said at the dinner table, like, I'm passionate about efficiency. Everyone's like, what are you passionate about? I was like, efficiency. And they were all laughing. And I was like, bastards. But also, like, I was the only person on that trip that was doing daily vlogs at the time, as well as, I think, Snapchats. And I would have 3 time-lapse cameras running, and I was flying a drone at the same time and doing all these things. Obviously, you can't just start out like that, but I built my way up there. And the only way to then edit a daily video and to do all these other things is if you're really efficient, and that's a skill that you can learn by analyzing your workflows and analyzing how you live your life and seeing what can I fast track, can I write some code for it. Like even keyboard shortcuts when you're editing. Like I don't edit using the mouse, I use keyboard shortcuts. So I think you should constantly strive to increase your efficiency. Just be kind, guys, just be a nice person, don't be nice. Also to yourself, and to others, and obviously to the planet, which is on fire right now.
Oh no.
Be kind.
Fire.
Be kind to this HDMI connector. Be kind to yourself. I've pushed myself to a burnout twice, and it sucked. Has anyone else had a burnout? Yeah. I hope we don't get too many more hands over the next few years, because it's really bad. I lost all of my drive, all of my passion, all of my creativity. Like I just felt like absolute nothing and I started seeing a psychologist, and that helped. But don't let it get to that point where you burn out. And I think you need to plan in a holiday here and there, or time off, or a weekend of no work or shooting. You know, we're all YouTubers here. It's so easy to always be on, and really I hope that no one goes through that, because it's just the most frustrating, confronting thing to just like have no energy for anything you can't create, and you're not helping anyone with that. It's yeah. So be kind to yourself, and obviously to others, and obviously the planet, because we only have one.
Plus, always have contact with yourself.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know this better than anyone else probably in the room. So yeah, I try and analyze how I feel and why I feel that way, and work with that. Exercise for me is a good thing, cooking as well. But we all have our own ways to deal with our mental health. Be smart. What I'm trying to say with that is, you can be a very, very successful but very mediocre photographer. I know very famous photographers that are really not that great, but they're really smart about how they run their photography business. And I reckon it's more important to know how to run a business than it is to know how to shoot photos if you want to be a photographer or a videographer or a cinematographer or a creator. You need to know how to run a business to survive in this crazy world. And in that same line of thinking, you need to diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't put all your eggs in the YouTube basket or the Instagram basket. I had a friend, she's an Instagrammer, hundreds of thousands or possibly a million whatever followers now. And for years I would ask her, like, what else are you doing? Because what if the algorithm changes? Or what if your account gets stolen or something like that? Like, you only have Instagram as a platform. Why don't you diversify? Why don't you have a blog and post some stuff on there? At least you have a channel there, or a Facebook page, or start a YouTube channel. I put so much energy into trying to get this person on YouTube. It was ridiculous. She never did. And now I think she's starting, and it's, you know, she could have started 3 years ago with a little bit of thing, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there. Could have been so much bigger and better now, and it would have been just a way more responsible thing to do. So, yeah, diversify. Having a single income stream is dangerous and irresponsible. I'm definitely thirsty, so I'm just gonna let that sit there for a minute. Be thirsty for more knowledge and more skills, and I honestly think that you should never stop learning. There was an educational YouTuber session earlier. I did a little bit of tutorial today. I really hope that you all constantly keep on learning, because as soon as you don't push yourself to learn new things, you're going backwards, because the speed at which other people are learning is increasing almost exponentially. The amount of knowledge that's around on YouTube that you can just pick up, like how to do After Effects, or how to, I don't know what you guys do with horses, but something with horses. The threshold to get into something is so low now. I went to film school for 4 years here in Brussels. I can learn all of what I learned now on YouTube in like a month, guaranteed. Obviously there's time you gotta put in there, but if I don't keep pushing myself, if I don't keep learning new things, someone else is gonna pick up all of that knowledge that I've put out there myself, along with others, in like a month or like in a year, and then they're on the same level. So keep pushing yourself. If you don't, you're gonna go backwards. Don't push yourself too hard though. Don't get burnt out. I mean, it's why I moved to Australia 6 years ago, because I met a girl and I was falling in love, and I was back in Belgium. I had this job which was really comfortable and easy and all that. But I was like, 10 years in the future, I'm going to look back at this moment and have this choice. So I quit my job and go to Australia. I'm going to stay here and stay in this comfortable position. Obviously, I moved to Australia. And then I was there for 6 years, and then she's like, I want to go work overseas. She's going to move to London. And I was like, whoa, I'm so comfortable here in Australia. I love being here. Got a great network of clients, great network of friends and people. How do I make this decision? And I'm like, you've already made this decision 6 years ago. Just get out of your comfort zone and push yourself to become uncomfortable, and then you'll adapt and you'll learn new things and meet new people. That's why I'm here, because I'm at Wally in London at VidCon. And that wouldn't have happened if I didn't make that decision. So, you know, obviously it filled me with anxiety. But yeah, I realized I was in my comfort zone and I had to get out because I was too comfortable for too long. Also, it's much more easy to come to Brussels or Amsterdam from London than it is from Sydney, because it takes like 30 hours. Yeah, be thirsty. You know, I showed my showreel from 2013, which at the time to me was the pinnacle of what I could do, what I was capable of, and now I look back at it and I'm like, that's an example of like you keep evolving, you keep improving yourself. And yeah, I mean the internet's just.
But maybe for you it's but I know my very first video, I have another YouTube channel where it breaks, and I made my very first video, which is 30 minutes long. I'm just explaining a break. There's sweat on my back, my voice is trembling. He's 14 and filming it without a camera or anything. And it's one of my best viewed videos ever. So if you don't like it, doesn't mean that the rest of the world doesn't like it.
Exactly. It's fun because that kind of leads me into the next bit about social media. Because I think why that happens is the authenticity of it.
Yeah.
Right? There's no ego. There's no like I have status or whatever. It's real.
Yes.
It's this, kid filming someone doing something 30 minutes long. How many ads did you put on it?
No. I didn't know it was possible at the time, but I should do.
Gotta be honest, I prepped a 90-minute talk, but then it turns out it's a 2-hour talk, and I've got slides left and we've got about 20 minutes. So I'm going to go through the social media bits because I feel like you guys know this already. You're all pretty successful. I've seen some of the numbers of the channels here. But again, maybe it's good to pick some of this stuff up or remind yourself. A lot of people ask me, like, how did you get so many followers on social media? I don't even have that many. Like, I've got 53K on YouTube, and in total I've got about 200,000 across other channels. And people always ask me, how do you grow to a big following? And I don't know. But what I think is what happens is if you're consistent in your style and in your frequency, so your style being the content that you create. Obviously we have videographers, we have family vlogging, we've got horses, we've got tech stuff. Be consistent in what you do. I don't have to tell you guys this. If you're gonna do a vlog and a tech review and an unboxing of whatever, a chainsaw, people are gonna come to your channel and be like, what is this? So be consistent in your style, choose something. For me, obviously that's time lapse, and in your frequency as well. That's what YouTube always tells me is you gotta post on the same hour on the same day every week. That's so much pressure, and I don't do that. Maybe that's why my channel doesn't grow that much. But anyways, consistency I think is key. You can always expand from your genre afterwards anyway. And then yeah, authenticity. Oops. Oh, come on.
Be nice.
Okay.
And it's done.
Right on time. There we go. Nobody likes a wanker. Except for like, the whole flexing thing, like look at how expensive my car is and how much money I'm making. There's a couple of YouTubers like that in LA, and I just like, it's so far removed from what I want to see. I want to see humble people, I don't want to see big egos. People want to see real stories and real struggles and real victories as well. Again, that's probably why that video did so well. And I think something key with that is stories, Instagram stories or Snapchat or YouTube stories, where you can show the person behind the camera in a really casual, really easy, really snackable way to show that it's a real human, and then you connect with it. That's half the reason I started vlogging years ago, is because I was like, I'm making all these crazy travel videos, and I'm showing people around, and I know I've got a decent personality, and I like being on camera, so might as well do that. And then what happened is these people that follow my vlogs from the start to this day, they're really connected, they're really involved, and you form this, not a one-way relationship, because, a little bit of a one-way relationship, but you form this bond that doesn't happen if all you show is just what you make. I think it's important as creators, as real people, to show that you're actually real people. Obviously, engage with your audience. You get back what you put in. If you just hit it and quit it, you post something and you never reply to comments, or you don't engage with your community that you've worked so hard to build up, then it's such a waste. People won't stick around because again, it's about forming that relationship, that bond. Also, if you want to work with other people, just start engaging with them on Twitter. Like, I was at a conference in LA a month ago or a month and a half ago, and I wanted to speak to some people there, and I talked to them like, hey, I do this, and I'm like, oh yeah, I recognize your name from Twitter, and that wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have had that initial little, hitting it off straight away if I didn't engage with these other people that I wanted to engage with. So, spend time on the platform, be social on this social media, and you will reap the rewards. And then obviously quality. You want to post high quality stuff, you want to put in some time and effort, reward people. They've got only so much time in a day, and if they choose to give that time to you, make sure you reward them with quality, not just audio-visually has to look good, but the value of what you're sharing. I feel like with educational YouTubers, it's really cool how much value you can get from that, learning a new skill, learning stories, but value or quality can also be entertainment, can be whatever, really. What else? Relevance. There's, obviously trends throughout the year. Who's got a content plan for the year? Who plans out their stuff?
We plan not for the entire year.
Yeah, but you plan ahead,
Yeah.
If you look at, LA, which is probably the biggest hub of creators, they all have a content plan. They plan around their Super Bowl and Halloween and Christmas and New Year's and all these, and they plan it out. And that's really smart because you're going to be relevant with the trends of whatever is happening, and it makes life easier. And then more people will find you because it is trending, obviously, using popular hashtags, and you can reach millions of new people by just jumping on a trend. And then my last piece of advice, the most important one of all, you gotta be passionate. That's how it all started. Find something you're passionate about and then do that well. Thank you all so much for being here. We'll do some questions and answers if you have the need for that. I hope you found this useful or at least entertaining. And please ask me some questions, and thank you so much. Please, they asked me to put this here, please do the feedback session. I don't know if they're going to ask questions about me, if they do. But yeah, thank you guys, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll pop it on the screen. Yes, I'll put it on the screen.
Just go to YouTube.
I don't have Wi-Fi, I'll just type out. If you put in that on any platform, you'll find me, you'll find my face. Whatever. Matjoez. Anyone has any questions? Because we've got 15 minutes, sorry. Shoot.
First of all, thank you so much for the good advices you gave. It's really interesting. Do you have maybe just one advice when you make video inside?
Indoors?
Yeah, to make them more dynamic and more interesting.
Visually, audio, because a lot of the issues with indoors is your audio, which is like echoey, like in this room.
No, but like, yeah. Keep people watching your video.
Yeah, so sorry, what kind of content did you make again?
No.
Low, okay.
And maybe sometimes I'm like, the boring lawyer just explaining.
Do you, maybe you can put in some elements of drawing things or situations, like think outside of the box, which is obviously easier said than done. Maybe look at animating some of the words that are in your videos, or if you're talking about a certain situation, just draw like little stick figures and like person A and person B, and then make a little animation or work with little post-its. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll have another think, but yeah, it's indoors. Like I do a lot of tech stuff as well, like unboxing, and I try to zhuzh that up by having a couple of camera angles and then shooting stuff differently so I can show a little product with better lighting and stuff. Obviously, because law, it's known to be quite dry as a subject, so it's hard to make that visually more appealing. But maybe it's how you present it. Maybe work on writing it out so that it flows better, so people are more, instead of, yeah. I'll have to maybe watch some of your content to see what.
Or try podcast.
Yeah,
I
podcasting.
really struggled with popup because we also have children in our videos. But there's a lawyer in the United States, and he made a podcast. He made a YouTube video, of course, but he also made a podcast. And you can't listen to your to a YouTube video like a podcast because if you the app is down, then you can't hear it anymore. So then you just make a podcast. It's really nice on the go. It's the best thing ever. So maybe that's something to.
The buzz around podcasts
But
as well
the
is
thing
nice.
is, sometimes I say it in my videos, I say to people, okay, you don't have to watch the video, you can just listen while you cook or because I just tell something.
How long are your
nothing
videos?
to see, basically.
How long is your
Between 5 and 15 minutes.
Okay.
But it's not
But you can just strip down the audio from the video and
Yeah.
then put
Yeah.
it on the podcast, so you don't have to. The only thing you need to do is down.
Yeah, it's
Use
just
your-
more
yeah.
work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But actually not that much work because you can just use the videos that you already have
Yes.
Mhm.
and you just use the audio from that.
Gary Vee is a good example of someone that has one piece of content and then
Yeah.
splits that up into 70 different pieces. So if you have your video recording, you can make little snack sizes for Twitter, and then an audio stream. It doesn't have to be a podcast per se, but yeah, definitely look into podcasting if you want to reach more people and possibly have a different, more dedicated audience.
It's not especially to reach more people, but to keep people watching the video
Yeah.
until the end, and to make it more fun.
Is there anyone else that does what you do that you can look at, see how they're doing it, and then maybe kind of bounce off that, get some inspiration? Not copy someone else's stuff, but because it's so easy to be too close to your own work that you can't really pull yourself out of that. So I'd say shop around a bit and see. Doesn't have to be law per se. It could be someone doing very long form technical explanation. See what they're doing. See if you can apply some of their techniques visually into what you do.
Watch a lot of travel videos. Although you're inside the travel videos, people who make travel videos. They have a different kind of vlogging than normal vloggers, and I use them inside for talking head videos. But they have such great tips, and then I use them inside, and you get way better videos. They look longer. So it's very good.
Or sometimes I make video also about one topic and that is not always interesting. Sometimes I make video while doing gardening or while I am in the kitchen or in the study room or some other area. I am listening then I am talking. So it makes it a bit interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, I had to do this. Was it Doris?
First, I just wanted to share a little bit with her that I use because I'm also from a law background and sometimes I have law topics. So what I do is, for example, if I'm talking about feminism, I change the visuals. If I'm talking, I pop on the screen examples maybe from way back how it started. So you're getting my voice, but you're not actually seeing my face. You're seeing the transition maybe from 1950 to maybe to 2019. I pop up once in a while, you see my face, then I bring in pictures or text and stuff like that. So it kind of takes the attention.
Just something that's
from
relevant to put on screen as opposed to just your.
Okay, and my second question is, you showed a little kit, a set of something that has
the lenses?
No, that has wide angle cameras, and you showed a little box there. When you were talking about, yes, can you maybe tell me what you're talking about? Yes.
You want it?
Yeah, you should. For real? Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's like lenses, you can use them. You literally clip it on your phone like any phone, it's universal, so that's on there.
Thank you.
No worries.
Can you give some
Any other questions?
Yeah, about that right there.
Oh yeah, talk to me after this, I have to get up on my phone.
Does the gimbal work? Like
What?
for a handy camera?
Yeah, I think it has uses. For me, I mean, they're getting so cheap these days, and you can pick up secondhand gimbals. Way cheap, there's so many. What kind of content do you do?
That's about my pets.
Okay. If it's pets, actually, yeah, what kind of pets?
Not chickens.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, follow them around with gimbal. It's gonna be way more steady than running around like a shot animal. Running around and like tracking them like this.
Your chickens are basically gimbals. You just
You got a chicken head?
you run around with them.
Yeah, so what camera do you shoot on?
Sony Alpha 6000.
Yeah, you can get like a Fade tape or a G-Tune or a Rode. Like, I think for probably €200 you have a really decent gimbal now. And then it can really elevate your footage if you're doing chicken stuff, if they're like running around, or even like nice, you know, I don't know what chicken content's like, but moving into like a pen, just having it will look like a shot on a rail, or like we're going out or something like that.
Can you also use it for vlogging?
Yeah, I think it'll get a bit tired though. It's heavy, depends on what it is. I usually, I've got one of these main cameras, well not that, but then I yeah, I started using that as well. It doesn't have a ball in it. Yeah, and it's a bit clanky and yeah. But I think look into it for sure. I'd consider that. Get one on eBay or like Twitter Hands or whatever. It's really cool stuff. Yeah. Anyone else?
Okay. You talk about being efficient. Like,
Yeah.
how can you manage that when you have your career? Because social media, analytics,
Yeah.
diving
And
into
it's
all
always, it's all everywhere.
Like, you always have to post on Instagram,
Yeah.
whatever. It's like, how can you be efficient with all those distractions?
So in case you didn't hear the question, how can you be efficient when social media is your job and there's so many distractions? I think have consistency in your life. So put in a certain rhythm. I don't have a day job. My girlfriend, she gets up at the same time every day. She's a lawyer as well, so I know what that's like. But I put in consistency in my life by, for example, I get my emails at 5 every day. Then I go to the gym. Then I shop. Then I cook, and that's it. I do all my content in the morning. I'll plan out my week, like that day I'm writing, that day I'm shooting, editing. I've got like templates built in for when it's launch day for a video. I'm like, all right, I've got to publish the blog post, got to send out the newsletter, I've got to launch, put the video quickly, I've got to tweet a clip or a photo, I've got to put it on Facebook. Just have a little template with a checklist. And put boundaries for yourself, because it is so easy to get distracted, and I'm the worst at that. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm diagnosed with like ADHD or ADD. I like check Facebook for a minute, and 40 minutes later I'm on Wikipedia reading about serial killers. I think we all know what that's like. But yeah, put in boundaries for yourself and constraints, and try and put some rhythm and consistency in your life, and I think that'll really help.
Yeah, I have a question, a comment about this question. There's a book by Carl Newport called Deep Work. Read it.
Perfect.
Deep Work by Carl Newport.
And the other one, all your
Notifications.
all your notifications, put them out.
Yeah.
Don't never ever let there be a pop-up on your telephone or your watch or anything, because it saves you about 2 hours of time every day.
Yeah. Have a look at your screen time on your phone.
Yeah.
Like after this week, I thought I had a good day, and I was still on Twitter for 2.5 hours somehow. And that was a good day. I also often turn off my Wi-Fi, so I don't get any emails during the day, because again, it triggers this. It breaks you out of your zone if you're editing or you're writing or you're scripting or anything. So again, that's about putting these boundaries in for yourself.
Or what about like dividing, like having to study your like analytics and all that on top of everything as well? So like you have to
Have a monthly review day.
Right.
Put it in like right that Monday or that Tuesday or those 3 hours. I'm gonna look at my analytics and know what you want to get out of it as well. Like I want to know which video did well and why it did well, and I want to see which video bombed and what was wrong with it, or you know.
for your daily, you're setting time off for that.
I try to like compartmentalize. Like my day yesterday was like I had 1 hour to shoot a video with this camera. I had 45 minutes for a meeting. Like my whole day was like in these little blocks, which is normal for people that have a set job and like deliverables. But for people that do social media for a living, it's always just there's so much stuff flying around. So try and like put that in blocks and commit to that. And also, if you find it hard to start doing something, just start doing it for 5 minutes, and you'll notice that it starts rolling. It's that you just got to commit to that first little bit, and then it gets easier. It's like going to the gym for the first time if you haven't gone in a while, like me right now. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's actually going a little bit on that. Since you're a filmmaker / photographer / time-lapser, whatever you want to call yourself, I guess you're doing the work for clients, but you're also doing work on YouTube. How do you concretize that in your life? Because I'm at that point that YouTube isn't that big for me that I can live from that. But I'm also getting like nice jobs and nice opportunities as a filmmaker. But I still want to make sure I get time in to do the YouTube stuff.
You don't want to like let that go. And, really good question, and something I think about a lot. Just in that. How do you balance client work and your own social media work or your own directions, right? I work with a lot of lists and I prioritize things. But in those lists, I make sure that I'm not letting go of all the social media stuff. So I'll try and stay as active as possible. You don't have to be active on social. It doesn't mean that you have to create a whole video. You can do like something short, like use Twitter or stories that are low input, high output style creative creations. Obviously, I think look at where you want to go, and then sometimes you may have to make sacrifices. If you want to have more client work, or if you want to have more YouTube, you might do a bunch of client work at first, and then say no to a lot of stuff, which is hard. Saying no is, I think, for a lot of people in this room, quite challenging, because there's so many exciting opportunities. Like I probably should have said no to this today if I knew that I was flying to Australia in 2 days in the morning. And like if anything goes wrong, I'm majorly screwed. Like if a train's delayed, stuff like that. So learn how to say no, prioritize, and again, like be efficient with what you make. Don't overthink things, don't make things too complicated. And yeah, try and be self-aware and analyze what you're doing, see where you're spending time and where you want to go in the end, and then maybe reverse engineer. If you want to, like I said, my sister's a business coach. I told her, like, I want to be location independent, I want to have passive income. And she's like, all right, so you want to make money while you're asleep, so how do you go back from that? And then we set this whole trajectory based around an email newsletter and having a digital product to sell. These guys sell presets, templates, I sell an ebook about time-lapse. The newsletter, now it's an automated system that's growing and growing by itself. But I wouldn't have been able to set all this up if I didn't know where I wanted to be. So know where you want to go and then reverse it from there. That was such a wild answer, like all over the place. But
That's a good answer.
Because on your question there,
That's all he does.
Thomas Frank on YouTube.
Yes.
Watch it.
What
Yes,
was that?
Thomas Frank.
Okay.
Thomas.
Yeah.
He's a great YouTuber and he has a lot of detailed videos about what app to use on your phone, how to schedule, many different
Yeah,
things.
I know the guy.
Cool. Or Matt Diavella.
Yes.
Thomas?
Thomas Frank.
Love it. Knowledge sharing. Anyone else got a question? I don't know what job it is. We got 1 minute. We get kicked out or anything? You're done. So, if there's no more questions, I'll be around. I'm not sure what the day looks like, but yeah, come up for a chat or anything like that. And seriously, thank you guys so much. It's been a real pleasure talking to you all and hearing your stories.
Thank you.
Guys, there's beers downstairs as well. And I'm gonna go. If anyone wants to record, just the video is still open as well. So if you want to record something, you can still do
Really happy. I'm on the S10 Plus I love it too. I want to try the Note 10, but this thing is still my favorite phone. I use all iPhones, use Samsung since the S8, and then S8 Plus, then Note 10 Plus, S10 Plus, then Note 9, S10 Plus. It's good, man. If you use that, I'm sure you they're both the pros and cons. Like, I got my bag as I chat. Still running, which is Ja, ik heb er iets dat in je plus, en dat was heel lang. We mochten niet afzetten. Ja.